Welcome as Gwyn and I explore Australia's westernmost point. It's an area of steep cliffs, crashing waves, and scenes like this. You find us late afternoon at a public rest stop.
We're camping first night on our trip up the west coast, and we're just pulled over and we're going to make some supper.
And who are all of these people in our room?
Ah, right. Yeah, no, we're at this public camping area off the side of the road.
And these are?
Grey nomads, like us, pretty much. All old farts together.
Not a grey on the head. Not one tiniest little, not a speck.
You make up for it, darling.
Yes.
Thinking, culinary thoughts.
About 4.5 hours drive today. Easy traffic, lots of, it is Anzac Day today. Lots of holiday traffic returning home to Perth. So the roads were busy, but most of the traffic was in the opposite direction. And what you're seeing here is very typical. For those of you who don't know, I never know how much to present for our overseas visitors to the channel and Australians. Well, whatever. Grey nomads.
People don't know.
Grey nomads. People with greying hair, that age, retired normally, driving in four-wheel drives or camper vans, towing very large caravans and doing the lap, the honorary lap of Australia. They drive all the way around.
Take a year or so. And
at any one time, there are estimated to be approximately, last time I read, and that was some years ago, 120,000 people at any one time doing a lap of Australia. It's probably gone up now with COVID and everything. It's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 200 plus, and you see a lot of these camper vans and caravans on the road in remotish areas, but not the really remote areas. They generally stick to the asphalt, but not exclusively. I've seen a few brave souls on some of the more remote trips, but something like this, it's free camping. Set up a camp wherever you like and just get comfortable for the night. And it's the month of April.
So the flies are still very bad.
The flies are still very, very bad. The flies will be around and this bad probably till the end of May. By June, the flies need is one really cold spell. It kills them, and then they stay dead, and then they all wake up again in about
they
November.
They all seem to resurrect.
In November, they all wake up.
Because you would think the buggers, if they've all died, there'd be none to breed, but no, it doesn't. They just resurrect those old dead ones, and they come back.
Yeah, it's quite good, actually. It's quite clever.
It's quite clever. Well, as soon as the sun goes down, the flies will go.
Yes.
And then we'll have some supper.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to turn off the camera now. This is boring.
I can't help it that you're boring. You're supposed to retaliate.
Hear that? That's the jennies they've all started up, their jennies. It's okay. One night's camp. If I'm in a lonely, remote place and I hear that in the evening, my skin changes colour.
You go grey.
I go red.
I found what I was looking for. The best thing in the world to have with curried mince, which is what we're having tonight.
Yes.
Curried mince and rice.
South African Mrs.
Ball's chutney.
So, in response to that wisecrack she made earlier about my grey hair, she goes now walking off to the... She's coming back. She goes walking off to drop something in the dustbin, and she farts. She sounds like a hippo that's not in this river here. in?
Driving along around Shark Bay, and there are points where you can see that the tide comes in quite far, and we spotted this area, and it seems wholly disconnected with anything oceanic, but it's here, so we've decided to come and do a tongue tip test and see if it's salty. So, is this tidal? Is the question. There's a shell, that's a clue.
It looks tidal to me.
It does.
It does.
Definitely looks tidal.
But if it's salty, it doesn't mean it's from the sea. If it's salty, because
I've just swallowed part of the Indian Ocean.
that is really salty.
That is definitely tidal.
These are salt flats. Just because it's got salt in doesn't mean it's tidal.
That's seawater. Taste it.
No, it's not linked to the sea.
I know.
It's a puddle in a salt flat, which means we haven't solved the problem.
No, we haven't.
We haven't answered the question. Disgusting.
Disgusting.
So the Troopy is full weight, full fuel, full water, gravel road. It is sitting down at the back. I know I'm pretty sure I need to upgrade the springs a bit at the back, but actually the ride is really good, very, very good. But I think I can get it better with some higher load rated rear springs. It's from this point that one has to pay. It's not a lot of money to enter the area, but actually you need to book campsites. We've booked 2 nights at one campsite and then 3 nights on a place called Dirk Hartog Island, which I've been here before in 2018. Gwynn's never been here before, but Dirk Hartog Island is a feature of the area that I missed when I came here in 2018. So that's why I'm back.
Do we have a name for this kind of driving? What is it?
I thought you were going to say driving over rocks.
That's the one. Driving over rocks. Not really.
Not really.
It's a bit rocky, but it's not exactly.
Your thing about driving over rocks is driving over rocks for no real purpose apart from driving over rocks.
Yeah.
Here we're actually going somewhere different.
I believe Australia has the dubious honour of having the worst corrugations in the world. So I've been told.
Certainly, well, it's the worst I've ever encountered are in Australia. A couple of them about 10 minutes back, actually.
Rattle one's fillings out.
Yeah, and knowing that the vehicle is undersprung at the back, I could feel it. I could feel it. Right. We're looking for campsites, false entrance campsites. I assume they're here. I haven't seen a sign saying false entrance campsites.
We have almost arrived at our first campsite. We're visiting Shark Bay on the westernmost part of the Australian mainland.
I've no idea where I am or where I'm going or what's going on. Absolutely no idea at all.
And that unfamiliar beach with unknown tides is not somewhere I want to drive on my own.
So, where have you brought us?
Well, I booked at false entrance campsite number 2. And this is false entrance beach, no other signposts anywhere. I have no idea, not a clue. And there's nothing on the map. Nothing on the map at all.
Time to dig out the paperwork.
Paperwork is not going to tell us anything apart from the fact that you have booked at the campsite. We have no way of finding out where the campsite is. I relied on the GPS and the GPS does not show it clearly.
While carefully turning around on the beach, somebody arrived and offered their help.
So some chaps pulled up behind us, and they obviously know their way around here, and came up and said, yeah, you're going the wrong way. So they were very helpful. They're in front of us now, turning around.
We're going to go back past the sites.
Okay.
Because we were going to go that way to have a fish, but we can't.
Okay.
So we'll go past the sites and we'll just point to you where the camps are, and you can do your thing from there.
Brilliant. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. The eternal problem when camping is finding a flat spot. So we're digging a hole to drop the wheel in the rain. We've got the awning up, and we'll see how this goes. Now he's going to get out his mental spirit level. The mental spirit level has spoken.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. We've got the wind coming from this way, so we're shielded from the wind this side.
The mental spirit level has spoken.
What are you mumbling on about now? I'll get it. I don't know. What are you mumbling on about?
You're a mental spirit level. Every time in the comments when we do this, people say, why don't you just have a spirit level?
Because that is just so boring. I mean, why not use Mark 1 eyeballs? Then I don't have to go looking in the car for... I carry these with me almost everywhere.
Almost.
Occasionally when I'm sleeping, I don't have them with me. Well, I don't know that I've got them with me, but
You put them on the bedside table.
put them on the bedside table and then knock them off in the middle of the night, and then in the morning can't see a thing. And I don't need reading glasses to see if something's level. That. Where am I going to put this? It's just going to get wet. So this is our kitchen.
Don't you just love camping in the rain?
I love it. Can't wait. You've nothing to say for yourself.
I'm eating nuts.
Actually turned out to be quite a nice campsite. The thing is, without local knowledge, take a bit of a guess, a bit of a gamble when booking the campsite. There are 4 here. Only one was available, so I just took the one that was available. And it's really not bad. We've got this whole area to ourselves. There's the bay there, and we're going to spend 2 nights here. Doing what? I don't know. I do have some fishing gear with me, but don't feel like fishing at the moment. Let's bring back memories.
Like it was yesterday. We were in the Kalahari with John and Sue and all the kids.
Right, we're going to Matsatling Pan. I've got a GPS coordinate where we can find the cut line.
I think Steve Searle was there as well with Kathy. There were a whole lot of us. We went to the Kalahari and we miscalculated the water. And we were running a little bit low on water. We had a lot of kids, and you know, kids are very water intensive. And we were getting a little bit panicky actually about what we were going to do about the water. And then the heavens opened and it bucketed down. And we were all there trying to catch this water with jugs and containers and buckets and all off the awning, and oh, it was fantastic.
You remember little Kate with her little bottle?
Yes.
Running around with her little bottle. And
Kathy,
she puts about 12 drops in the bucket. That was so sweet.
Oh, it was good.
Well done, my girl.
Good times.
Good time.
And because we've just arrived and have got full tanks,
these awnings, and none of them are good in rain. They're all highly compromised. But actually, we dry. We're completely dry. and it took what, 10 seconds to erect, so actually they actually do quite well.
Given that any change in the weather seems unlikely, I think I will tie down all of the arms on the awning, but I'll leave it up for tonight.
Right, miss, what happened?
So the wind turned, and instead of our awning being in the lee side of the wind, it was suddenly in the teeth of the wind. And it felt like the car was trying to levitate as the wind hooked under the awning. So, pelting with rain, furious gale. It was like being on a boat in the middle of the ocean. It was honestly what it was like. We rushed downstairs and we put the awning away. I was hanging on to one of the beams and Andrew was trying to loosen it at the other end, and the wind was howling and covering us with sand, and it was raining, and yeah, so that's the adventure for the night. Now I'm ready for sleep.
The thing is that the awning had collected a lot of water. So the most important thing about an awning when you're putting it away in windy conditions is that strap that pulls it tight is giving it 80% of its strength. Now, but you've got to release that. So I've got Gwyn hanging on to the pole, I'm hanging on to the pole, and now it's so tight that I can't undo it. Thank goodness I remembered where I'd put my Leatherman, because I needed to free it with a Leatherman. And of course, as we both closed it and wrapped it closed, there was a little lull in the wind, fantastic, but all of the bits of awning had collected water, which was dumped straight on top of us. The good part about that is it drained a little bit of the sand that had already got into our hair and things. I know this doesn't sound nearly as dramatic as it was, but it was dramatic. We saved the awning, because as I first got out, a gust hit. The second gust, the first one woke us up. The second one, the gust hit, and I could see the whole mechanism bending, starting to twist. We nearly lost the awning, because all of the 4 straps that I'd put in, they were all completely loose. We got lucky. Should we try and sleep now?
Yeah. With that adrenaline rush.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to watch The Shining to calm down.
So, more nighttime hijinks. The wind is just so loud now that it's turned around. So Andrew's gone to... He's basically going to move the car around, and so that we're facing the other way, so the wind isn't hitting the back of the tent. Because honestly, it's like being on a storm-tossed sea in a dinghy. That's what it's like at the moment. Yeah, it's quite a heroic effort he's putting in, because he's got to move stuff, and there we go, engine starting. And he's such a gentleman. I offered to help, and he said, no, stay warm and cozy in bed. So that's what I'm doing while he moves the car around. We won't be worrying about whether the car is level, I can assure you. Here we go, we're turning, and let's see if we can feel an appreciable drop in the wind, or if this is all for naught. Seem to be just going forever.
How level is that?
How level is that? Yeah, that looks level. And that's where my theory about not leveling the car falls to the ground. I've got to admit, It does seem to have made a difference with the wind. Or maybe that's just me with some old-fashioned wishful thinking.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's better.
It doesn't look level to me. It looks very much down at the back.
It feels fine. This is not the time to be worrying about whether the blood's going to rush to our heads. It's freezing cold out there. The wind is howling. It's pouring with rain.
Down at the back.
And it's down at the back.
It's down at the back by quite a long way. Oh, there you are. Hello. It is down at the back. Do you think we'll be okay?
I'm sure if the blood rushes to our heads, we'll be fine.
Okay, we might have to sleep with our heads that way because it's sitting up like this by quite a lot. But it's all the same. If we want to, it is what it is. Alrighty.
Well, we wish you a good night. We hope that we're going to have one too. So after last night's hijinks with the wind, we brought half the beach into the car. So Andrew's being
Half the beach. Half the beach. I must have told you 1,000,000 times not to exaggerate.
Yes. So anyway, Andrew's being a good boy and he's doing his chores while I stay in bed.
Would you like tea?
I'd love a cup of tea.
Yeah, I thought you would. I will go and make tea.
I've got him so well trained.
Around the camp you have, actually. At home, not so much.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
Did you bring the vacuum cleaner?
The Dyson.
The Dyson.
No, doll. I left the vacuum cleaner at home.
At home. Yes, it did at home. Okay, well then I'll just have to use a good old-fashioned brush.
So, yeah,
Pretty pointless, really,
camping.
because in an hour's time it's going to be full of sand again, but that's okay.
Something to pack when you're going camping.
What?
A
brush.
brush.
Oh, yeah, no question.
You've
Got
gotta have
that.
a brush.
And a Dyson.
A Dyson would be good.
Well, good morning to you. We have woken to weather that, well, was a little bit concerning, a little bit worrying, and not what they forecast. Very blustery wind, quite a cold wind. They forecast that it was going to be clear, and we didn't actually sleep very well.
Did I complain earlier in the trip about the levelling of the vehicle? I think I may have. It's the eternal problem when camping is finding a flat spot. I'm not sure what planet I was living on. Or who was feeding my Pegasus. Because the unicorn I was riding. The mental spirit level has spoken.
Yep.
You get the metaphor I'm going for.
Torture.
Torturous.
Perfect.
But anyway, we were at an angle like this last night. Perhaps not quite as acute. Maybe more like...
And that's because in the middle of the night I was forced to get out and move the troopy and save the awning from being ripped apart.
If it wasn't for this back flap, I would be sleeping on the dunes over there. And Andrew would probably be in the ocean. So I will never complain about the levelling of the vehicle again. You'll be pleased to know.
Fine, I'll remind you of that. Probably later this afternoon, actually. See, it is a bit of an angle.
And of course we had to face into wind because it blew up a lot last night, so we didn't have any choice. We had to face this way. And you can see the ground is sloping, so it was either face the wind or lean into the wind.
In the previous episode, we drove up to Shark Bay and last night survived the vicious storm. Our neighbours, who had actually helped us find our way here, didn't survive. They lost an entire tent and a gazebo. After a morning spent sorting out our camp, we went to take in some of our surroundings.
I think the people that they left sometime today, we didn't see them, but the 3 vehicles parked here came for a walk yesterday. They had caught, I saw at least 10 in a bucket, in one bucket, but it looked like a commercial fishing operation. They've left litter here, they've left their ironing board, which is it's actually a fish preparation table. They've left it here, it's a mess, fish heads, and it stinks. That doesn't look like blokes coming out for a couple of days fishing. That looks commercial to me.
Explain this to me. Look around. As far as the eye can see, everything is golden. Golden rocks, golden sand, golden beach, etc., etc. And this. Clearly it's been tossed up from the sea and it's still got rotting anemones in it.
Is it not coral?
Bleached coral. Yeah. At least someone around here is using his noggin.
That is heavy, but not nearly as heavy as a similar size piece of, I assume this is limestone.
This is such a beautiful shell. It's so utterly collectible. But it's busy fossilizing into the stone here. It's quite amazing. All around you just see these shells embedded in the rocks. It's like watching geology happening in real time. Fascinating. Where we camped, there are hundreds of shells. So clearly at some point the sea had to have reached there. Wow, we were exposed. Okay, high on the hill here. No wonder we got the wind so badly. Everybody else is kind of tucked in the dunes and the bushes, and we were right up in the jaws of it. And to prove my point that this was once under the sea, we are standing right here in King Neptune's kitchen. If you were to glance over, you will see his barbecue tongs.
Hey, that's ridiculous.
We set that whole thing up just for that joke.
You think you're a bit of a comic?
No, other people think that I'm a comic, but you have never laughed at my jokes.
What jokes?
In fact, exactly.
What was that?
I have a bit of a calamity.
What?
I've lost my hairbrush.
And you think that
Oh, found it.
anybody's going to notice? Oh, okay.
Well, that's it. At least hair's brushed.
You really thought that was going to be a tricky moment there because it made a difference, yes? I just went chatting to the guys down there who spent the day fishing. I didn't turn on the camera. I don't want to impose on people by just pointing a camera and expecting them to be okay with it. But they said to me that they were also very suspicious of those other people. They said they greeted them but got nothing back, and also were thinking, that's odd, the way they're behaving. So Anyway, I think we've probably got din-dins. The wind is dying down.
Oh, it's so good.
The guys down there told me that they lost their gazebo, torn to pieces. The guys told me that they went up.
Which guys?
Those guys over there.
Right.
Told me that they went up Steep Point today and they were chatting to some of the people in the area, and those that had boats on the beach, they were actually pulling them off the beach.
Wow.
Because the swell was so big, and lots of people apparently lost tents and things. We actually came off well. We're not.
Oh, I think we should say congratulations to Yaki and his awning.
Yaki, you built a really good product. I have probably not too much confidence in it. To survive that, really you did well. And yes, I did tie it down, but all the straps had come loose. That all come loose.
Memorable storms.
That we nearly lost equipment last night, and we weren't wearing I wasn't wearing a camera. We weren't wearing cameras, so it was just a case of save the equipment.
Yeah.
So we couldn't capture the full ferocity of the storm, but the rain was coming down in sheets. We were soaking wet. Thankfully the rain wasn't cold, but it was blowing,
Proverbial
60,
gale.
80. It was a gale. It was a full-on gale. And we survived. And actually you said you slept quite well afterwards.
Yeah, I did. The minute we turned the car into wind, the ferocity of it just dropped. The noise, the clatter in the car, it made a huge
Because when the wind
difference.
was actually, the whole car was moving like this, which of
It's
course
like
the
being
wind,
on a boat on the ocean.
the wind was pulling the awning and lifting the car, doing this with the car. So it was violent. So then that reduced, but then the flapping was wild and terrible. I couldn't possibly sleep in that noise, which is when I then turned it around. There are two other France and Namibia.
Yeah, Normandy. We spent a few days in Normandy.
So this morning we're actually leaving here, not going very far, 2 hours-ish drive to the barge that will take us onto Dirk Hartog Island. We are up at first light. We've got to get to the barge crossing before 10 a.m. and it's probably a 2.5 hour drive. And it's raining. You know, I don't actually know the way. There was a sign that came in when we came past. There was a sign. I don't think this is it. There. Contemplating the barge. Pouring rain. I can shoot with the little action camera. That's waterproof. Rain jackets, but it's really coming down in sheets, isn't it?
It is. And the barge goes from Steep Point.
It goes from close to Steep Point, yes.
And this barge,
Takes us onto Dirk Hartog Island.
thank you, our viewers will be pleased to know.
I've already explained it
Did you? When?
earlier.
Ah, well, I snoozed. Yeah, it's bucketing down. So we found ourselves.
Yeah, the very few signposts, and that's not giving me the one thing I didn't check before I left, the operation of my HEMA maps on my iPad. I didn't check it. It's not working. I have to rely on the Garmin. And the detail on the HEMA on the Garmin is not as good as the detail on the iPad.
So, the moral of the story. Check it before you leave home.
So I've just gone down to 18 psi. Now the road gets soft, twisty, windy, and we've got about 40 kilometers before the barge crossing, maybe a little less. I passed some traffic and I saw them long before they sold me, because I realised, they had some dune flags flying, so I thought, actually, it enabled me to see them, so why don't I do it? This is actually a brand new one, as you can see. First time for this car.
Very warm. Of the Indian Ocean.
And that there is Dirk Hartog Island, and you can't probably see it with that lens on the camera right now, but there is a barge crossing, and the barge takes vehicles from the mainland onto Dirk Hartog Island. So that's where we're going to be going now. Looks like an interesting place.
Yeah, it does. Basically, Dirk Hartog Island, from what I've just been reading, Western Australia's largest island, covering approximately 63,000 odd hectares, almost 80 kilometers in length. It was at Dirk Hartog Island in 1616 that the first Europeans arrived, and then from that time onwards there was just degradation of the landscape. Sheep and goats were introduced, cats, and pretty much wrecked the place and destroyed most of the indigenous wildlife. And then it was taken over by the WA government, and they've been reconstructing it.
I'm feeling pretty excited about this. I have been to the area before, but never gone on to the island. And then I noticed something strange. They're lifting the ramps, and we're obviously standing by to embark. What is going on? Have I missed something?
Right, we've come up with an unsolvable problem. It turns out when booking your camp, you can book your campsite on Dirk Hartog Island, but they don't supply you any information on how to get onto the island. Now, I heard about a barge and know about the barge. It turns out that the barge is operated by an individual company, not national parks. National parks do not supply any means to get onto the island. You have to use these people, and they want to charge us $800 for a 10-minute barge ride for the car onto the island, and we have to now go back, drive for however many kilometers, find a spot where we can get onto the internet, book it, pay for it, and come back. That process will take a day. So it's a day plus $800. And I've said, no, that is price gouging. So we're going to go and find something else to do. Yep.
Disappointing. Definitely disappointing. But I agree with Andrew. You know, $800. I'd rather go and swim with whales. You know, not that we'll be doing that on this trip, but thinking of how to invest $800. Yeah, no. So there you go. We'll go and swim with whales sometime and show you that.
Let's go back. It's a long shot. We'll go back to where you come past here. There's a small little ranger station, and we're going to ask them if they've got a camping spot for us somewhere along here. We can spend a couple of days. Otherwise, we have to drive all the way back today. At least here, if we could spend a couple of days here, we can at least enjoy the area and before we head off to Denham. Now that ticks me off, because nowhere on that website, and they sent me emails, and I clicked every single one,
Looking for
and
the
I
barge.
read because I was looking for information on the barge. Nothing.
I was able to book and pay for 3 nights on Dirk Hartog Island with no means and no suggestion on how to get onto the island. It's recommended that you book a campsite close to where the barge departs, but state parks will tell you they are all unavailable when they are not, because we've just been given one on the very night I tried to book one. On further investigation, I found out that the barge costs a lot less than the $800 suggested by the pilot. It's actually $340. But if you book to camp on Dirk Hartog Island, you cannot get off on a Tuesday. And again, state parks don't mention that and will allow you to book a campsite arriving on a Tuesday. If you ask me, it's a bit of a mess.
So, having decided not to go on the barge, we went back to the rangers and asked if they had a campsite for us for a couple of nights here at the Steep Point launching Wada Wada. And she did. So here we are, and we're actually quite sheltered because we've got a little mound over there, we've got a little mound over there in the vehicle, so we're sheltered from the wind. They reckon there's no more rain in the forecast, but plenty of wind. So yeah, being protected from the wind is important, and we're going to park off, tell a few jokes, tell a few stories, waste our time, waste your time.
Not warm, but not freezing. Actually, if the weather was hot, it would be probably worth swimming. Maybe tomorrow. I hope you don't mind that we're not going to the island. We'll go and find something better to do. We might only be here one night, maybe two. But there's more good stuff to come.
This kind of camping isn't quite what I really love. People close by, etc. But it's a beautiful place, very popular with fishermen. But I think perhaps just one night here before we head off.
I guess for me the measurement of whether a campsite is really enjoyable is the fact that if I can't just wander off into the bush and take a pee without having to look over my shoulder, then camping becomes a bit of a chore, because it's of course a balance of reward and having to camp. And if we were on this place and there were very few people around, it would be a completely different experience for me. But because we are cheek by jowl with people, not my scene. So I think one night will be. We paid for 2 nights, but it's not about money. I think tomorrow we'll head off. We'll go to Steep Point. We'll take the long, slow drive down the peninsula, which is right on the edge of the coast, and then find something else. Find something else more in line with what we were hoping to find here. So tonight is the start of our hybrid experiment. We've got some potatoes that are boiled using gas. We have some steaks that will be cooked on the induction cooker. At the moment our battery is sitting at 55%. We've got a bit of a charge coming over here, not to 100%, to 68%. And we've, Gwen's had a shower, I'm about to have a shower, the boiler is warm, and we've used just both fridges running, and we'll see where we end up. At the moment, 200 amp per hour with the kind of traveling we're doing is sufficient. But one of the most interesting parts about this whole experiment is that Gwen is really enjoying the induction cooker. She's getting used to it, and she's, well, I'll ask her after tonight what she thinks the outcome of this experiment might be.
So, a nice 4X overland chopping board. This is beautiful Australian wood called jarrah. It's got the logo on, and it's specially designed for camping. So I'm going to use it tonight, and if you're interested in owning one, you can get it from our shop at overland.com. But now we're going to have some mushrooms and some potatoes and some steak, and I'm going to cook it all up together. And here the potatoes are pre-boiled, and then we're going to have a salad. So let's start with
Do you need a hairbrush? Because you just had a shower. I was thinking.
You forget, my beloved, that back in the 80s, women used to pay fortunes to have curly hair like mine. Pity it's now 2022.
What are we actually eating tonight?
Wish I'd bought an onion. I forgot. I would have fried up an onion with this. But never mind, never mind. We've got some steak in a marinade that I got from our local butcher. The potatoes and the mushrooms, which I'm going to cook all together. I'm going to sort of saute these first with some herbs and then push them to the one side. Then I'll put in the steaks, cook those, then add everything back together so they all get the juices, and then we'll have a salad. So there you go. And I need some of that plastic paper. This is the worst kitchen towel I have ever encountered. It's all the rage in Perth at the moment, but I suppose in these days one's just got to be grateful that you get paper products. But look at it, it's terrible. Anyway, I digress.
You're going to leave that.
Well, I thought it would be too much for us to have it all. We'll have it at another meal. Oops. Rubbing your stomach. This is going to mush up, and it'll become like a hash of mushrooms and potatoes. And then we'll have the meat to go with it and some salad, as I've said, for about 10 times. Now, cooking steak is an art, I'm well aware of that. So I'm saying this right now as a disclaimer. It's just going in this pan, and we'll do it as best we can. But if it isn't quite the way Harry at Fire to Fork would do it, we'll all live with that.
Not a fire.
I'm just covering my butt here.
I did say in a video not very long ago that we were not doing a cooking show.
Just as well.
This is not a cooking show.
Just as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Wow. Looks so good.
Okay.
That looks to me.
It's got a nice sear on the potato.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. A little bit of salad.
Try not to eat it.
Oh. Those tracks. Think that's a dingo? What do you reckon? Dingo, surely.
Must be.
Eh?
Because they don't allow dogs in.
Must be. This morning we are going to Steep Point. This is the most westerly point of the Australian mainland. It'll take us 40 minutes to get there. And if the wind isn't too bad, I'll fly the drone. Well, the wind never stops here. It blows every day of the year. It's too hard to fly the drone. There's too much wind to fly the drone. But here you are So this is one of Australia's newest citizens. This little Pupsy here has got her Australian citizenship.
Yep.
And she's now standing on the furthest westerly point of the mainland. What do you reckon?
I think it's stunning. Look at all that ocean.
Kind of bigger than 100 ponds. I just saw Australia's most westerly lizard. You are now Australia's most westerly citizen.
Got vertigo and your feet actually itch.
No.
Get that weird itching
Okay.
in your feet. That crash as it comes through the blowholes. It's the most amazing sound. So, do you want to tell us what we're doing?
Right, driving down the west coast portion of the peninsula of Shark Bay. Whoa, 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 pretty country, pretty country. Okay, I think we may have taken a wrong turn.
I think we should have carried on the stone, because that's what
think
the
so.
lady said. She said you carry on the rocky road.
Looking at the map, we've come off the track. Yeah, we have. There was no sign there, but we're actually heading.
towards the.
We want to continue down there, don't we? You know something, it doesn't actually make much of a difference. Oh no, we want to go all the way down there, don't we? You know, it does make a difference. I will turn around.
There's a little cave there. I'm just going to have a look at it. I'm so glad I came here. This is absolutely one of the most beautiful places I've been to in Australia. It's just incredible. It's the landscape, how varied it is, and how desolate it is, and how puny you feel compared to these elements, you know, rock and sea, and just humbling experience. Okay, we've got another crossroads. I would say this one.
I'm pretty sure that goes to the edge of the cliff, and this is the one here. I can hear them, blowholes. I can hear them.
This is a good kit.
Yeah, can you see what you're doing there? I can't come in next to you to look at it. Yeah, I took a tumble.
We just want a bit of plaster and some betadine.
Some antiseptic.
Yeah,
and,
betadine. Should we just give it a bit?
It doesn't need more than the plaster. It's actually fine.
Ooh.
It doesn't need
Gonna
more than the
just-
plaster.
Not only did I take a bit of a fall, so did my camera.
I'll try and clean the camera. Now my knee is starting to sting. The first time. I hardly felt it. I didn't feel it, in fact. Now it's stinging.
Typical graze. But that was quite a deep graze.
Yeah, it was. This is an interesting piece of... am I going left or right here?
Right. Thought you said it would be entertaining.
Sorry. I could have made it a lot more entertaining.
I'm glad you didn't.
The sea is so blue, it's almost black. Wow, look at that.
It's beautiful.
That's a causeway. We're going to drive across that. It goes right across the lagoon.
Oh, it looks like this is not a public road after all, and we're not going to be able to cross.
It's a pity because I had the drone all ready to get a nice drone shot of the crossing, of the causeway, but
It is what it is.
yes, we just have to go backwards all the way now, so it's going to take a bit longer, but yeah, just don't lean forward. I'm going to need that mirror every now and again. Tell you what we might do though. If we go down that way, we could go forward. We wouldn't have to go reverse all the way. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
Oh, I think we're going to do that.
Here we go.
At last, the reveal. What is this box on the top of my spare wheel? It is all my tyre stuff. I'll explain to you later how I made it, but it contains everything I need to pump up my tyres. Not everything to change the wheel because it doesn't have the jack and the jack levers in there, but all my tyre stuff, tyre repair stuff, etc, etc. And that is a little trick of the trade. That padlock, it's wrapped in a silicone rubber. It stops it rattling. Well, it reduces the rattle, let's put it that way.
The area where I had to deal with the soft sand has come to an end. For now, at least.
I thought that was a very, very apt name for a supermarket. Perhaps the best I've seen. In an area where they celebrate natural biodiversity as far as they possibly can. And right here is a supermarket called the top of the food chain. And they're not wrong. It is the top. This is where all of this ends up so we humans can eat it.
We are in a town called Denham, the tourist centre of the region.
Put your toes in about where I am. Just make a nice straight line so that everyone can see.
And we're going to spend a couple of days doing a few touristy things. This is Monkey Mere. The only reason it appears for this place's existence is by virtue of the fact that there are some tame-ish dolphins. They are wild, but they come here for a snack every now and again. And people flock to see them.
Take all the photos you like. That's beautiful. She's been giving visitors joy for years and years. She actually started the program, I think, when she was about 17. And they come back to family at night. And that's what these dolphins do. They're constantly coming together, meeting up with friends, families.
Touristy things, though, don't really float my boat, so I'm glad to be back on the road again. Well, a track.
We're on a narrow bush track, thick sand, sun shining, going somewhere amazing. And I was sitting in the cockpit this morning, actually it was Paul Marsh came to mind. Because I've done a lot of trips like this with Paul and look through the windscreen and I see everything. No bugs, no things stuck to the windscreen, because Paul has this anal habit of every morning when we get into the car, he's cleaned the windshield inside and out.
Good on Paul.
It is so annoying. Well, because I feel guilty because it's filthy, it's disgusting. What do you reckon?
Apart from the flies, it's perfect.
Perfect. Beautiful. How's the water? Not too cold?
It's chilly.
No.
It's chilly. So we're at Gregory's, which is in the Francois Perani Nature Reserve.
Okay, to get it stable, need to dig a hole there.
It's nice seeing you work.
Actually, the water is very cold. Not a little bit cold. Actually cold. As wonderful as this place is, the experience is marred by flies. They are really bad. They've got worse during the day. It's just so beautiful, it's so picturesque, you know, but the experience itself is just, you know, we spent most of the day waiting for it to get dark and not enjoying the place, because you have to wear a fly mask to make it even bearable. So we're going to try tomorrow the other part of the island. I mean, I wanted to fly the drone. The light is perfect for the drone to get some shots. Filming with a drone with flies is not possible. You can't do it because through a fly net you can't actually see what's on the screen properly, and without one, they're too distracting. So I keep thinking, well, try again. And the few times that I've never succeeded in getting a decent drone shot when there are lots of flies. I've tried 10 times, and every time I've done exactly what I've just done now. To hell with it, land. And the light is gorgeous, and it's paining me because I'm going to give it another try. The fact is that I've learned that travelling in Western Australia between November and June is risky because of flies. Sometimes you get few, sometimes you get a small amount, sometimes you get lots. You never know what you're going to get. It's still worth trying to find no flies, because to me they can make a difference between loving a place and not really enjoying myself at all. So what's for supper tonight? An all-electric meal again?
An all-electric meal.
Yep.
I've got some mince that I made at home, which we're going to have on toast with a fried egg on top.
With a fried egg on top?
Yes.
Using our toaster?
Using our toaster.
Excellent. We have the inverter going and we have the cooker going. We're using 366 watts from the battery at the moment, which is the equivalent of 1,840 watts, which is the AC load. And now I can hear, can you hear that gentle hum? That is the inverter's hum turning on. We're 1800 watts. We're well within the... Actually, I think my conclusion, part of my conclusion of all this is that the 3 kilowatt inverter is overkill. And look at that light.
There you go, boys.
Oh, look at that. Wonderful.
A mess of food.
Wonderful. That light. Very, very peaceful night. The wind died down. There were a couple of crabs around the car, saw them, some of them made little holes, but this morning the winds come up and the flies are very bad this morning. So I think what we're going to do, instead of spending another night here, our intention was 2 nights here, we're going to head off to the eastern shores of the peninsula. There's an area there where they say it's less influenced by the wind. There are wind breaks, and also the wind do affect the flies, so we're hoping that on that side of the island there will be fewer flies.
So we're leaving Gregory's camp in the Francois Perron Reserve, and we're now heading to Herald Bight, which is on the other side of the peninsula. So follow us to see where we go. Oh, I thought you wanted me to film you driving off and coming back to fetch me and all this reality TV that actually isn't all that real.
Yeah, just imagine her running back to the camera, collecting it and coming back and getting into the car. Imagine that. Let's go. This is Skipjack Point, very close to the northernmost tip of the peninsula. That is the lighthouse that last night we could just see above the horizon flashing.
scenery is just insane. The colours, just absolutely spectacular.
It's kind of there. There's another one, 2 more. Large fish. Look in the shallows there. There's a shallow in the shallow there. There's
It's a shark.
Shark in the shallow.
Yeah.
Down there is a very large fish. I don't think
It's another shark. Or
are
is
they
it-
all sharks?
I'm wondering.
It looks broader.
There's another shark
Yeah.
there.
Yep. It's so cool. This is a marine sanctuary, and it just shows you the difference between an area where fishing is not permitted and where fishing is permitted. And I've seen it before in places that are set aside for the marine life and other places where it doesn't seem to matter as much. And they all have one thing in common. They are teeming with life. What is that over there? That's something very large in the water there. What is that? I think it's a ray.
Then again, if you wanted to get a really good look at a shark, just visit the aquarium in Denham. And it won't be as windy either.
Remember that supermarket we went to? It's at the top of the food chain? No. There is the top of the food chain.
That was absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever seen sharks in the wild before. I've seen dolphins and I've seen whales and I've seen whale calves in the wild before, but never sharks. Boy, it's a sinister shape when you look down at them. And they were just basking in the sun. And then a huge, he was big, came past. I don't know if we got any footage of him, but man, he was big.
He was a 2.5, between 2 and 3 meters shark. He was
A
very,
big daddy.
Whereas most of the other ones were quite small actually, and wouldn't scare me at all if I was in the water. But that big one, ooh, no, that's scary.
Well,
Top of the food chain. This has turned out to be a bit of an exploration for us, going in and having a look at all of the different campsites, because we're going to come back. This is an easy, you couldn't get into the park in one day, but you could get really close to it in one day's drive, and then, have an amazing holiday in this area, close to home. So we want to look at all of the different campsites and get an idea of what might be good in certain wind conditions, etc., for a future trip.
We've arrived at what I think will be our final campsite for this trip. The idea is to spend 2 nights on the beach here.
What do you reckon?
I was about to ask you that. You took the words out of my mouth.
It's we can drive up the beach that way, or we can drive up the beach that way, and I think it's probably exactly the same over there that it is over here, and there's some people who've camped over there. The bank, the thing gets steeper over there, so it'll be less easy to camp because it's a steeper thing. The sand here is really thick though, but I'm thinking that we actually should park our vehicle up in this spot here on this flat bit. I'm going to try and reverse up. But isn't this a perfect place, a little flat place here?
Yeah,
Hey?
nice.
It's really nice, eh? So I'm going to try and reverse up here because it's very soft.
Oh, look at this. I may have found...
And you've found a shell.
Yeah, there you go. That's my shell of the trip.
Good. Are you hoping it's going to be warmer?
Yep, they tell me the Indian Ocean's supposed to be warm. Let's see. They lied.
It just looked warm.
And we know there's some bloody big fish out there.
Big pointy teeth. But you know, if I wanted to come and just have a little, you know, I like my isolation fix every now and again, just to find myself in the middle of nowhere. This is perfect. It's perfect distance. It really is lovely. Wild. I swear the water here is not as cold as it is on the other side. This is beautiful. Really beautiful. I'm actually quite excited about finding this whole area. Really excited about finding it. It's beautiful. It's 5:20 and there is now a plague of tiny moths. Millions of them.
So we're coming to the end of our trip. It's been fabulous, as these always are. We're going to start heading back to Perth tomorrow. We expect it'll take 2 days. If anything interesting happens, we'll film it, but we kind of feel that this is pretty much the end. We hope you've enjoyed watching it, and we hope that you will be around for a lot longer to watch a lot more adventures with us as we go out and do stuff. And we really appreciate your support, and we couldn't do this without you. Thank you.